On today's episode, we are going to be doing 50 ideas on how to make your home look more expensive, but there's a twist this time. So we are going to be comparing pro versus DIY, and I will let you know when it's smarter to go pro and when you can save a ton of money by trying it out yourself. You can do this. So let's get started with the first one. One of the first things I want to do is remove all of the vertical blinds. I also want to eventually remove all of the 2-inch wood blinds as well. But the vertical blinds, I just really don't love them. To me, they don't scream expensive. They don't scream timeless. Now, there may be cases where you can't remove them if you're renting or things like that. What I plan on doing in lieu of the vertical blinds is hanging curtains. And eventually what I really like to do is get some smart roller shades that roll up completely out of the way and roll down. This one I haven't done in all of my rooms yet. I've done a couple of the rooms, but it is just not to the top of the priority list in all of those spaces. The price comparison for this is if you do it yourself, it could be anywhere from $150 to $500. And in this instance, it's gonna vary from room to room, depending on how many windows, the size of those windows. Now, if you were doing pro, you could be looking at $2,000 to $3,000. When I worked as a designer, it was not uncommon for custom window treatments to go $3,000 for one room. So just keep that in mind. One thing that I want to do is doing a built-in banquette in my breakfast nook area. So what I plan for this area is kind of an L-shaped banquette. Then I'll probably do some sort of round table. You could possibly do a rectangular one. I think I'm gonna give the round a look, especially because I have that little round tray ceiling right above the breakfast nook. I want to mimic that and make it make sense in the space. Okay, so for the cost comparison on the banquette, so I ended up spending on my banquette in my breakfast nook around $250 for everything. And that included a cushion, the trim, like all of that additional storage. So that was a really good deal. And so it depends on what size of banquette you're building. And I will include the link to that tutorial if you're interested in recreating that look. So I'm estimating at around $250 to $400 for a DIY version. Could be a little bit more, could be a little less, depending on the size of the window. And then on average, you can expect to pay about $2,500 if you are hiring this out by a finished carpenter. So just keep that in mind. If you have in your home any kind of entertainment center or shelving that's built out of drywall, that is something that I would recommend you addressing. In my case, it's just the way it's built is not functional at all. So for myself, I'm going to be ripping this out and starting from scratch. If that's not an option for you and it's functional and it works for you, there are ways to make it look nicer. So maybe you trim it out in some masonite, which is a very thin plywood that's very smooth, and then you add a lot of trim work and make it look like it's more built in. That would make it look more expensive. Another idea is just getting rid of it altogether and not replacing it with anything, just repairing the drywall, maybe getting a TV stand or however you're going to use that wall, just getting a piece of furniture instead. So if you have one of these monstrosities like I have in my house, you could demo this yourself and save a ton of money. So you could be looking at maybe like $100 in supplies to demo it and fix it and get it looking good. Now, if you're going pro, you can expect to pay at least $1,500. They're going to charge for all their time. They're going to charge to haul it off. They're going to charge for the drywall wall repair and the floor repair. And I'm telling you, this is something you'll have to decide for yourself on how much work you really want to do and what your schedule's like. This is a totally doable DIY project, but it depends. So just take that into consideration. Now, on either side of the fireplace that I plan to build in that family room area, in lieu of that clunky, not very attractive drywall thingy, I think that there is a perfect opportunity for me to add some window seats on either side. And I do think that having some window seats, whether it's in a bedroom or a little nook area in a living room. It really is a way that elevates the home and makes it look more expensive. Now this kind of plays back into the built-in banquette that I mentioned earlier. It's the same concept. Building in items really elevates your home, makes it look more custom, less builder grade, and more finished and more polished. Now this one's similar to the banquette, adding a window seat, but it is a little bit different in like cost and everything. So if you're going to add a window seat, it's really going to depend on the space. Like if I did a wall-to-wall window seat in, let's say, my master bedroom, and maybe put in some custom bookcases, that could run me a lot of money. If you're going to just do it in a little niche in your child's bedroom, like I could do in one of my boys' bedroom, it's going to be a lot more affordable. So I'm estimating for a DIY version, $300 to $800. $800 if you've got a big one and you're doing some bookcases, you could totally pull it off for $800. $200 to $300 if you're doing something small. For a professional one, you'd probably be looking at $2,000, and that would be for something probably in the middle. If you were doing custom bookcases and all of that, it really depends on what you've got planned for it. That could really add up quickly. So we're still on the built-in things. So in my main living room, I have this very grandiose 23-foot tall fireplace. I really see an opportunity to flank the fireplace on either side with some built-in bookcases or cabinets. In my fireplace area, I really see something with some cabinetry maybe on the bottom and then some shelves on the top. I'm gonna do it a little bit more enclosed than my last one where I think I had some exposed open shelves. Because of the space, it's a little bit more formal, maybe putting some books and some decor on that. In my last house, we did bookcases on either side of the fireplace with that kind of combination of the prefab cabinets and building some of it myself. It was open shelving. We had a beautiful backdrop and all of that. I want to say it was like $800 or so. It's been a minute since I've done that. And so I'm estimating in the ballpark of anywhere from $500 to $1,200. I think I could easily spend $5,000 to $6,000 hiring a professional carpenter to come in and build those out. It could easily get that expensive that fast. And so that will be definitely something that I will be DIYing myself, and I will bring you along for the way. I do envision trimming out the top of the fireplace a little bit more with trim, but the idea that I have for the mantle is, first of all, there's no mantle there. There's some very generic looking tile. There is something a mantle does to elevate the look of the room, make it look more expensive, and really polish off the room is the word I'm looking for. And the way I want to do that is I really love the look of a cast stone mantle. Those ones that are made out of concrete or something of the nature, or limestone. They're beautiful. So since I aired this original episode, I did go ahead and do my cast stone look fireplace that I really wanted. And I was blown away by the end cost of this because it ended up being less expensive than I thought because it has such a nice high-end finish. So mine ended up being $150. I couldn't believe that I got the same look as my $5,000 cast stone one. Honestly, the only way you can tell that it's not cast stone is if you're like knocking on it and touching it. I think those savings are totally worth a try if you feel like you're up to it. Now, I will say, if you are just beginning, maybe go back and look at my last fireplace mantle area. That one was definitely more beginner friendly because of the curve of the fireplace. That made it a little bit more tricky. And so just keep that in mind, and maybe work your way into it. So in my new kitchen, I think it's got a lot of possibilities, but one thing that I just am not loving is the vent hood over the stove. It's just very industrial looking and not really what I'm looking for. I envisioned doing some kind of really custom vent hood. I think that that looks expensive, finished, polished. So I have plans to DIY a vent hood. I haven't decided whether I want to do something curvy or something more square. I really want to really live in the space for a second, get used to into it and see what the room speaks to me. I've got some ideas. I just want to really polish that off. But I do think a custom vent hood really does elevate the look of a space, make it look more polished and thus more expensive. And so that is something we're going to be doing here in my home, and I hope that you enjoy seeing that here. So as I'm recording this, I am going to be starting that range hood, and I'm hoping it goes well. My hope is that my costs will be under $150. Now, it might even be less than that because I have some scrap wood that I'm really hoping that I can get away using and save me some money. But I figure if we can get it under $200, that would be a huge, huge win, especially when you consider my inspiration one was about $5,000. So DIY, I'm estimating that you could easily do it for $200 to $300 very comfortably, get something very large and beautiful and nice. And then the pro cost $3,000 to $5,000 depending on what you're doing. But again, this is all subjective and what your style is like and all of that. So just take this for what it's worth. Also in my new kitchen, I've been blessed that I have a fairly large pantry. What I don't like about it is it looks like, you know, a typical closet, and it's kind of like very noticeable in my kitchen. So you just see like two closet looking doors and it just looks like a generic closet. So one thing that I would recommend and what I plan on doing is trying to elevate the pantry in some way. Now you could do this through switching out the doors, which I may do, or finding a way to upgrade and elevate the doors that are already there. But I also have this idea in my head of maybe making this pantry that's already there, rather than ripping it out, making it look like it's more built in and a part of that kitchen. And if I'm painting the rest of the cabinetry, I really feel like that makes sense, that when I'm doing that, I can maybe make it feel like it's a built-in cabinetry. Also doing something really cool to the doors, maybe painting them out black, or, you know, finding something that's unique and special. So it's not so like, oh, there's a closet in the middle of the kitchen, that it's something that's a little bit more customized through adding some trim, adding some wood and some molding, and maybe some new doors. So this one is one that I'm hopefully gonna tackle in the early new year coming up. I'm so excited about it. I'm hoping that I can keep this under $100, but for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna say anywhere from $150 to $300 to upgrade your pantry door with what I've got planned. To upgrade and do it like a custom door, get something brand new, or have them do it for you, you're gonna be looking at probably around $1,500. And that really depends on how fancy of a door you go with or what you have in mind. But I think $1,500 would be a good estimate on that. So for 10% of the cost, maybe it's worth a try. I mean, the worst case scenario is you ruin the doors, you're only out the cost of replacing those doors if you went that way, or you're only out the money that you invested trying to do it if you are dedicated to seeing it through. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so there you go. Okay, so I have a big goal this year. I'm really trying hard to hit 500,000 subscribers on this channel. I really just want to get the message of uplifting women and empowering them to see how truly amazing they are. And if you find value in my content, and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and shared it with others. And when we hit that mile marker as a community, we'll have to think of something fun to do. Give me some suggestions in the comment section below. So while we're talking about the kitchen, one of the things that I really would like to do, since this is my forever home, is switch out the countertops. I don't think that that's gonna really add much value to my bottom line because it's already a granite in there, so it's already kind of like a stone surface, and adding a stone definitely is a way to make your home look more expensive. But if you look at a lot of designer kitchens, you will notice that a lot of them, and this has been a trend for a while, but over the long haul, this is a very timeless look, is to do something like a Carrara marble. Now, I I don't want the upkeep of a Carrara marble. So I'm considering other options like a quartz or a quartzite that has the look of that Carrara marble without the maintenance that you need for a Carrara marble. But I do very much enjoy the look of that. Okay, so we have not switched out the countertops in my kitchen yet because I think I'm not going to do that until I do a major remodel, and I'm not going to do that anytime soon. But I still look forward to it because I really like white cabinets and I really love white bright countertops that are less busy. But we did do this in a rental flip that we did last summer, and I can tell you that it depends on the size of the kitchen, but we were able to do it by overseeing it ourselves. I think we were in at about $2,500 to $3,000 for that entire kitchen. This is something that I would definitely hire out. Unless you do this for a trade yourself, I would not DIY this. This is something that I would hire out. However, they're giving me a cost of $1,000 to $3,000 to DIY it yourself. But in the meantime, there's ways to make your kitchen look really, really good without going to that expense. And I'm gonna be happy with the granite that I have for now until I get ready for my dream kitchen. So one way to make your home look more expensive is to upgrade from carpeting. Now, I'm not saying that that's a blanket statement. Definitely there's beautiful carpeting out there and there's areas that you can carpet and it looks wonderful. But generally speaking, if you switch out carpet to a wood floor, it will increase the value of your home of up to 5%. We did an engineered wood in ours. Even some of the luxury vinyl plank flooring out there, it looks really convincing and really nice these days and really high end. Generally across the board, and like I said, this is gonna be a case-by-case basis, switching out carpet to a hardwood floor or maybe even a tile if that's a preference that you have, it does elevate your home, make it look more expensive, and then you can bring the softness back in with area rugs, which is what I've done and will be doing. I do think that when you put in a hard surface flooring, that it's really classy, it's timeless, it elevates your home, makes it feel and look more expensive depending on what you select. Replacing carpet, you would be looking at about $2 to $6 a square foot. And that's kind of like doing it yourself. Again, hire somebody to do the carpet. It does not cost that much to have carpet installed. So pay for the installer to do it right, do it good. Going more with like the wood tile floor, you're gonna be looking maybe $5 to $10 a square foot. You could totally DIY this. But there is one area that we did not immediately switch out, and that is our stairs. That's because I really wanted to do that myself, and I'm still kind of sorting out all the details of how I want to go about that. And that moves me along to my next point. If you do wood on your stairs, it just is timeless. It makes your home look more expensive. But if that's not an option, especially budget-wise or other reasons, I have this plan, and you're either gonna love this or hate this. This is gonna be very taste specific. I think it looks really nice, luxurious, and expensive to do some kind of pattern carpet on your staircase, whether that's like wall to wall or as a runner. That is something that I'm still kind of sorting out. I've got lots of different ideas that I'll talk about in probably an upcoming episode. I really love animal print for stairs. I have found so many that I'm just so drawn to. I think it looks so luxurious and expensive. And I know that that is not for everyone. That is very taste specific. Okay, so the upgrade to the staircase with the custom carpet, namely cheetah print or antelope, is what I'm you don't have to do the animal print. That is totally me, but there are some beautiful ones with stripes or like geometric designs or more of like a traditional. DIYing this, you could do $300 to $700 for a runner and tools. And if you already have wood on it and you can just do the runner, that's gonna affect like the cost and everything. If you hire out pro, and we're just talking doing carpet and runners and all of that, I think you could look at $1,500 to $3,500 for a nice custom carpet. Again, depending on the quality and depending on how many stairs and how big your staircase is. And so it's a little difficult. I'm just taking averages inches, but in some areas, like I can get you a little bit closer. This is gonna really vary depending on the carpet and whether you're putting in wood with it and all of that. So there you go. So in my new bedroom, there's a little hallway where there's his and hers closets on either side as you go towards the front door and the bathroom. They look very builder grade to me because they're just mirrored doors. They're functional, and I don't necessarily want to get rid of them because it's nice having a full length mirror, but I think that there's a way to make them look a little more polished. To dress this up, I am thinking that we can just do a grid on it, and I'm debating whether to just leave it the white with a grid or if I want to do something a little bit more dramatic and paint it out either like a bronze color or something like that. But I think just adding a grid here would be great. You can do that with wood slats, or there's a product off of Amazon that's kind of like a peel and stick, like vinyl looking thing that looks pretty legitimate as well. So I did end up adding grids, not to my sliding mirror doors, but I did add them to my sliding glass doors going outside, and I absolutely loved how that turned out. But it's same concept, but you could do it on the mirrors, the sliding mirror doors. And I think for like a set of like 2 doors, you could easily get that done for under $50, maybe $75 if you've got a few of them. But if you did hire this out, it could be, you know, on the smaller ones, like $500 to $1,500. So I think this is totally a DIY friendly one. Totally do it, follow my tutorial, and you will save a ton of money. So my next 2 ideas is adding light that doesn't exist before and then switching out old lights. And the reason why is before we moved in, I had my brother-in-law, who is an electrician, come in, and he switched out all of the can lighting that was more dated looking. It kind of had the almond finish on it. He switched them out with these new, more contemporary looking LED kind of puck lights that were white. They were very affordable. I think it was like $10 to $12 per can light that were switched out. I really like bright white light. I like daylight, but he suggested doing more of the bright white light. And then there's also the soft white and the warm light that you can adjust on these as well. And it was amazing how much that added to the overall look of it. It really brought it from like an early 2000s home to something that felt a little bit more new construction. Listen, I'm never gonna tell you to DIY this because I am not a licensed electrician. This is something I'm comfortable doing for the most part. I'm fortunate that I do have a family member who's a master electrician, and he's coming here real soon to do some lighting for me again. If you DIY this, it's like the cost of the light and then a couple of tools that you should use and have on hand. If you hire an electrician, you're going to be looking at $500 to $2,000 depending on the amount of lights you're switching out. Like if you're switching out all of the cans, it's not very expensive to do, but they all add up really quick. But it really does elevate and make your house look more expensive. While we're talking about lighting, there's a couple of other lighting ideas that I have that really, I think, make your home look more elevated and more expensive. And one of the things is we live here in Florida, and for us, ceiling fans are really necessary and functional, but they're not always attractive. So in our bedroom here, one thing that I did before we moved in was add a chandelier. Now, I had been curious about these because they look like chandeliers. They look beautiful, so you get the aesthetic of a chandelier, but then you can turn on this fan that has clear blades that pop out when you want to use it, and it circulates the air, and they function really, really well. I love this chandelier that we got. I think it looks elegant and timeless, and then when we're not using the fan, the blades tuck back in. They kind of are hidden. You kind of see them, but like they're not obtrusive, and they are clear. And we are looking, as far as switching those out DIY, about $150 to $500 depending on the fixture you do. Now this is something that I will do, but generally speaking, I don't like to do fans because fans can get out of balance and all of that. So if you hire a professional to do it, you're going to be looking at more, again, $500 to $1,000 depending on how many and all of that. Okay, still on the topic of lighting, there is like a recessed light above my bathtub. I really want to switch it out and put in a beautiful, elegant chandelier. I just think that that will elevate the bathroom, make it feel so luxurious and nice. And there are these kits where you can switch out a can light fixture for wire in a regular light fixture like a chandelier, or you can just completely start from scratch. I have heard that like there are areas where that is against code. So you're really gonna wanna make sure that you check that. And if you can't do it directly over the bathtub, maybe you can do it in the center of the room, or maybe there's a way to do like a candelier where it's candles. I just think that that's a way to make the bathroom feel a little bit more luxurious and a little bit more elevated. But overall, relatively, you're not like knocking out walls or anything, and it will elevate the look of your bathroom. So there you go. Now, whether I do that myself or take advantage of when my brother-in-law comes to visit, that's another question. If you do it yourself, it's again the cost of the light fixture, and maybe around $150 to $400 to get a decent chandelier. And then pro cost would be about, they're estimating $500 to $1,200. My entire interior of my house needs repainted, and I'm not going to be able to do it all at once, but somebody went through with the wrong color paint and touch-up painted all over my house. And so it really cheapens the look of the house when you can really see all of those patch jobs, and really bad paint job can really like level down the look of a room. And a quality paint job, while it doesn't maybe necessarily level it, I mean, it really does level it up, but it's not something you go, oh, that's a really fantastic paint job. But you really notice it when it's a really bad paint job. So having a really nice, beautiful paint job really does elevate the look of the home. So that's something that I'm gonna be having to tackle as we go, because literally every wall has like a bad patch on it, except for my son's bedroom, which is the only room that has been painted all the way. So there's at least one room in the house that doesn't need a paint job, but yeah, I've got a lot of painting to do coming up on this episode. So if you have like a really bad paint job, or like you can see other colors showing through, or if it's not quite matching up, paint is like, in the whole scheme of things, is very inexpensive, and it will really make your home look better if you repaint it. Take the time to do a really good job. It's totally worth it. So to fix your terrible paint job, it's a cost of a bucket of or two of paint. Get some decent quality paint. It's worth it because you'll do less coats, and it will save you money in the long haul. Maybe $100 per room for paint and supplies and rollers and all of that. If you're hiring it out, it depends again on the size of the room, but you're looking at more like $500 to $1,000. Okay, so one thing that we have switched out is on the main floor, we had an office that had French doors on it. We are turning that into a guest bedroom. There's a bathroom really close by. I need to address that door for privacy, but also for aesthetics. I think we can do better than the white that is existing. I do think it looks really elegant to paint out. You don't necessarily have to do all of your doors in your house. You can if you'd like. I really do think it is fun to do like a statement door. So like, I really envision painting out that French door black and then frosting the glass as well. And whether I do my contact paper method or if I do something a little bit more permanent, I'm not sure, but I really think painting that out black. Okay, so I recently painted my French door out finally, and I love how it turned out. And it was the cost of paint that I had left over from other projects. So I already had it on hand. So maybe we used a third of a gallon of paint, so $20. And then I switched out the hardware, which really elevated the look of that French door even more, and maybe spent an additional $50 to $60 on hardware. So all in all, maybe like $100 to DIY this myself. Pro repainting, I mean, it's tedious work, that French door. So you're gonna get a little bit more in labor on doing something like this. They're gonna wanna tape it off. They're gonna wanna take it down. They're gonna wanna spray it. It's gonna cost you more. So I'm estimating anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to repaint that door. And I think you should totally DIY it. That's just my opinion. Another thing in the kitchen is upgrading your faucet. Whether that is just something that has a more beautiful finish on it, that has a little bit more design to it. One thing that I would really like to do in my kitchen is to do like a touchless faucet. Now, I actually already bought a new faucet and because I was going to replace the one in my last home. It's not like a touchless faucet. So I may put that in temporarily, but I really like the idea of being able to like just barely like touch it with my wrist or wave and have it turn on. I do think upgrading faucets in bathrooms, kitchens, across the board is a way to elevate your home, make it look more expensive. And there's a lot of really affordable options on Amazon that you can find out there. So I recently switched out my faucet. I did not go with the touch faucet because of all of your commentary. People either really loved the touch faucet or really hated it. And I was like, you know, they talked about, you know, getting their clothes wet and how it would keep running. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to take that on yet. So with a touch faucet, this is something you wanted to DIY yourself. And I have DIY'd switching out many a faucet. It's basically the cost of the faucet and maybe a couple of little parts here and there. So I would say plan to pay $150 if you're not going with a touch faucet, and closer to like $400 or $500 if you are going with a touch faucet. However, I have not DIY'd that, and that would require extra electrical. DIY a regular faucet, yes. Hire a pro if you're doing a touchless faucet that automatically turns on and requires electrical. I'm going to tell you, hire that out, and it's going to be about $500 to $1,000. Some people love their touch faucet, so just keep that in mind. Another simple thing to do is switch out your toilet handles. I know it seems like such a small, silly thing, but the cheap plastic ones that I see on a lot of toilets, they look cheap and plastic. And whenever I have switched them out to something that is a little bit more polished, that has a prettier finish on it, it always elevates the look of that bathroom. So that is something that I'll probably do. Like as we do a bathroom makeover, I will switch out the handles as I go, so I don't necessarily do it all at once. And that's a really easy DIY that you can do, just switch them out. There's lots of tutorials out there on how to do that, and it's definitely something that I think that you could do on your own. It's just a simple switch. It will cost you just the cost of the part, which could run you it's anywhere from $10 to $50. I think if you were doing like a really nice one, you're gonna be like $25, $30, totally worth it. It's a little extra, but it's like a little extra jewelry. So that's gonna be up to you. If you're gonna be doing it with a plumber, you're gonna expect to pay probably $200, let's be honest. Anytime you call out a plumber, it's never less than $200, am I right? Okay, so one of the things that I just never got to in my last house was my laundry room. And it's probably because out of all of the household chores, laundry is my least favorite. But in this new place, we have like a huge opportunity in the laundry room that is in there. It's got like potential, but right now it's very boring and builder grade. And I do think having a very nice laundry room will help motivate me to do laundry. I think if it was beautiful in a space that I wanted to be in, I'm really hoping that helps me want to do laundry more. In one of our homes, we lived in like a townhouse and it was just a closet. And that is the one time that I didn't mind doing laundry so much, is because I hung wallpaper in there. I put in some shelves and some cute baskets. It's the one laundry room that has ever been cute in any home that I've owned. And I did find myself enjoy doing laundry a little bit better after I did that. Okay, so this year I'm hoping to tackle the laundry room at some point. I am hoping to stay under $1,000, but I have a lot planned. I have a countertop, and this is all gonna be like the size of your laundry room. Again, mine is not the biggest, it's also not the smallest, and I do have the opportunity to do a lot of cabinetry. So my goal is to do it under $1,000. We'll see how that goes. I do want to put in like a granite quartzite countertop in there. Right now it's just for mica, and it also needs more cabinetry. Hiring this out, I think you could easily spend $4,000 to $5,000. Again, depends on the size of the laundry. I'm just going off of kind of like the average, custom cabinets, tile backsplash. I think you could get in the neighborhood of there real quick. So I'm gonna try to DIY mine, of course. Okay, another thing that we will be doing in our home with regards to lighting is gradually switching out some of the light fixtures that I feel look a little bit on the more dated side for something that's a little bit more contemporary looking. But like in my case, some of those are hanging from those very tall ceilings. So switching them out isn't gonna be the easiest task. Another way to update your lighting is maybe you could just switch out the shades or remove the shades. So there's ways to not necessarily switch out your light fixture, but I'm not one to hugely follow trends. And with lighting, I do try to find something that's gonna be a little bit more timeless, but with lighting, it does seem like it can kind of ebb and flow. So that is one way to elevate the look of your home. If you have like, I hate to say it, makes me feel uncomfortable. If you have like boob lights, you all know what I'm talking about, the ceiling ones, switch those out for something else. That will elevate the look of your home. Okay, we touched on this a little bit ago, replacing outdated can lights with LED. The LED lights, if you're going to buy them from like the big box retailers, you could expect to pay about $10 to $15 for a really nice LED one. I watched my brother-in-law do it. It doesn't look super hard. I didn't do it myself, but I think it could be a doable DIY project. Again, I'm not going to recommend that because it's electrical. So I think you could expect to pay $100 to $200 per light, and it might be totally worth it. I think that it really takes a dated home and brings it into a more modern era when you switch them out to the LED. It will save you money when you're switching out from a traditional bulb to the LED lights, and so that is something to take in consideration when you're hiring it out. Also, switching dim bulbs to brighter bulbs. I might be pushing against some norms here because I think a lot of people in the design industry like the soft lights. I personally love bright white or daylight because I feel like it's so bright and refreshing. And if you don't like that, a lot of the newer lights can let you select what tone of light you want, whether you want it to be warmer or cooler and all of that. And that is a really neat feature on them. You can do it from the remote because it's LED. You can adjust whether you want it warm or bright. Just switching out bulb and like lamps and everything, it's super easy. You can DIY this. It's inexpensive and totally worth it. So there's no need to call in a professional if you're just switching out like light bulbs. You got this. Switching out your cabinet hardware. Now you can see on my cabinets here that I have some black hardware that's a little bit on the dated side. Cabinet hardware is the jewelry of the room, and so I actually have some on order that has more of a brass finish and it will be a little bit more sleek. This one feels a little bit country to me, and so we're gonna streamline it and bring it in to this decade. Some things to keep in mind is what style are you going for? Are you going for more of a country style? Are you going for a modern style? All of those things are going to determine what kind of cabinet hardware you might purchase. Also, you want to make sure that you measure your hardware if you're not planning on painting them. So if you're planning on painting them, you can fill in the holes, sand it down, and put whatever size hardware you want. Just make sure that you get the right size spread on your hardware. I've done this so many times, and one of the times I actually ordered the wrong size handles. I just assumed I knew what the spread was and ordered them without actually measuring them. So be sure to make sure you get those measurements. And then as far as like the regular knob, you don't need to measure those obviously, but consider the style that you're looking for, the color and all of that. If you're not sure what direction to go to, go consult Pinterest for some ideas of what might look good in your style and what your hardware is. Upgrading cabinet hardware is a total DIY friendly project. You can do this. Now, if you are needing to drill some, there are tutorials out there. You still can do this, right? DIY cost is, $50 to $200 if you're doing this yourself. If you are hiring out somebody to do it with some premium hardware, you could be looking at $300 to $1,000. So totally worth DIYing, don't you think? Because my next point deals with elevating your appliances. Now, this could be existing appliances, or this could be doing something new. You saw me take my stainless steel fridge and convert it into this beautiful piece of, it almost looks like an armoire piece of furniture. The only thing that gives it away is the little ice box right here. I do wish that this was black to begin with, but that was the color we are working with, and I still love it. I love it more than the stainless steel that was there, and I was willing to take a risk because it was about 18 years old. It's probably ending its lifespan here, and I thought if I'm ever gonna try it and see if it would work, now's the time. And I'm so glad I did, because as nice as the stainless steel fridge is, it really does give it a more custom feel. I love the way this looks. I think it really does emulate a high-end refrigerator. Another option is finding a way to do a built-in fridge. Now, those can be really, really pricey, so that might be another one that I tried down the road, is to make a refrigerator, like a regular refrigerator, look built in. But also, as far as appliances, I saw Lone Fox, I'm sure you guys did too, do a really cool hack on his dishwasher and made it look copper. It was so stunning. So that is a good inspiration as well. Just keep those things in mind, upgrading your appliances. Maybe start with a fridge. I know it seemed crazy, but I am really happy with how this turned out. That project ended up being, with the paint and the handles and all of that, under $100. It totally looks more high-end and custom. There are some custom, like built-in versions, but when you go like the integrated appliance look, especially for like, let's just go with a fridge, or if you put a panel on your dishwasher or everything. So it could, like if you're doing a dishwasher, it's gonna be a little bit on the less expensive side. If you're doing it on a fridge, it goes through the roof. Okay, so for DIYing it yourself, you're gonna be looking at $500 to $1,000, let's just say. The fridge itself though is very, very expensive. So the custom panel ready fridges, are you ready for this? Are like, I think they're like $8,000 without the cabinetry. So I'm gonna put this at $2,000 to $10,000, but there is some variation between your dishwasher and your refrigerator. So you're gonna need to take that into consideration. But yikes. So that might be something I hold off on, or come up with like an alternative, or we'll have to see what I come up with for that, because I cannot imagine spending $10,000. For those of you who have the beautiful built-in refrigerators, tell me, are you glad you did it? Was it worth the money? Tell us all in the comment section below. No judgment. No judgment at all. I'm just really curious. Another way to make your kitchen look more expensive is by adding under cabinet lighting. We've come a long way in this area, because this is just a rechargeable under cabinet lighting. It's motion operated, so it will turn on if somebody walks by it in the dark, and then it will shut itself off. You can get these in soft light and cool light, depending on what tones you like in yours. These are magnetic and rechargeable, so on the edge here you can see that there's a place to recharge it. The installation really is just making sure it's all charged up, and then you make sure that the magnets are sticking to the appropriate surface. So you'll stick one magnet to the light and one magnet to the underside of your cabinet, and then you can just magnet it on like so. It's so simple. And then some of them I've seen also you can do a sustained light if you wanted to keep it on and like as a steady light, you can do that. I think it just saves on the charge for it to go on and off like that. Usually there's like a little lip that comes down and kind of disguises it. At least on my old cabinets, it was inset. This is a totally easy DIY project to do. Used to be that you had to hire an electrician to come in. You could still do that if you wanted to. You could do some other sort of LED lighting as well. I think that is a simple and easy DIY project that you can do to elevate your kitchen. Now there's ways to do this DIY with all the LED papers and options. There's some that are like rechargeable that you can just charge and they last for a long time. I have found some of those options. So I'm thinking like if you DIY this, you're like $50 to $200, depending on what you do and how crazy you go. But if you want to hardwire it and you're not sure, I would definitely consider hiring a pro to do this. You're going to be looking at anywhere between $500 to $1,500 depending on the size of your kitchen. So while we're over here at the kitchen sink talking about the faucet, one other simple upgrade you can do is simply switching out your soap dispensers. And this is one that I've had for a while and I do like it, but I think we could boost the look by switching it out for this beautiful amber jar. I think this will look really great in my kitchen. This one comes with a black soap pump on it, but I also thought we might be able to easily get away with putting my gold one on there, and it looks really good. So I might try that out. But instead of leaving out like dish soap, I used to do this all the time, putting it in a pretty dispenser will just up the look of the kitchen, and you can even lift it up on a pedestal, style it with some other things, and really make you not notice it. My hand soap pump will be the one that's built in that I need to buy a dispenser for, but you can get one that matches the look of your kitchen and really customize the look to speak to your design style. Switching it out from like your Bath & Body Works soap to something a little bit more elevated will make your kitchen feel more polished, more finished off, and it's just such a simple and easy thing to do yourself. So swapping out the sink accessories could run you anywhere from $25 to $200 if you're going crazy. I don't think this is something you need to hire a pro, so I didn't come up with a pro price. So just, you can do this yourself, I promise. Another thing you can do in your kitchen to make it look more elevated and nicer is do something with your windows, if you have them. In my case, I have this very unique window that goes right underneath, like on the backsplash area behind me, and it's not something that I have seen a lot of. I've even looked on Pinterest to see if there are other homes like this. The first thing that I did was frost it for privacy, because we looked directly at our neighbor's house. Every time they walked by, you could see them, and plus it just didn't really have a nice view. The HVAC system was really the view. So for me, I loved frosting it. That allows me to have the light of the window, but still privacy. So that's one thing. That cost me only a few dollars of using some clear contact paper. It looks amazing. I am really happy with it. So to do DIY window film, it could be really, really cheap because you just use contact paper, and that is just will give you a frosted look, and that could be as little as a few dollars, like less than $10 all day, every day, depending on the size of the window, of course. Switching it out to something a little fancier, like a reeded glass, which is what I'm gonna be going with on my French doors and in my pantry doors, and I may even go ahead and do that on the window underneath there as well. It will run you a little bit more, maybe like $20 to $30, but you could definitely do this for under $100, depending on how many windows, how big, and all of that. If you are hiring this out, they're gonna charge you, and you're gonna be looking at $500 to $1,000. Another thing you can do to improve the look of your kitchen is by just adding trim wherever you can. I mean, don't go crazy, especially if you have more of like a modern minimalistic look, but even in those cases, there might be a way to add a little bit of interest through molding to give your kitchen just that little added something that it needs. For example, in my breakfast nook recently, I added some picture box molding. Now, we're gonna be doing a lot of picture box molding in my house. I think that that's gonna be a repetitive theme that I'm gonna do in several locations, including this wall directly behind the camera that has a clock on it. We are gonna be doing some of that picture box molding. Also, there's a trade out ceiling right above me, right over the island, that I think if we added some additional trim work to, that would really be a nice added element to this kitchen. Maybe even doing some tongue and groove shiplap on the ceiling here. So there's lots of possibilities to just add those little added extra details that can be really, really affordable. Simple miter cuts and a finish nailer and some caulk and paint. You would be surprised what you can do. So keep that in mind, because it's a very simple, easy DIY project that you most certainly can tackle yourself, save a ton of money, and really make your kitchen look amazing. To do this DIY versus pro, it's gonna be like cost of supplies. So $200 to $800 a room, depending on what you're doing to DIY it yourself. If you are hiring it out, you're gonna be looking at more in the ballpark of $1,000 to $4,000, depending on like the complexity of the trim that you're doing and the expense of it. So I know that that's kind of a range, but you're definitely gonna save a ton of money doing it yourself. Another idea that I have is adding a very nice statement light fixture. Above my island, I have it's wired for one, but is not there. For example, Mallory Nicholas has these beautiful antique crystal chandeliers that I think are so beautiful. I really do like the ones that are kind of like the big industrial pendant lights that have all of the additional details. I think those can look really nice. We could also do something that was a little bit elongated since it is over an island. So a couple of tips on getting the right size light and how high do you hang it and all of that. Generally speaking, a light over an island should be hung at least 30 to 36 inches above. So in that 30 to 36 inches above your countertop is a good height for that light fixture. Now, how big do you get it? What is recommended is anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 the size of your island. So if you stay in those general guidelines, you should do really well hanging and getting the right size light fixture for your kitchen over your island specifically. There might be a little bit different rules, like if you're hanging it over like a bar, some of those simple pendant lightings. Generally speaking, 30 to 36 above the counter and 1/3 to 1/2 the size of the island, you will be golden. So every once in a while, you're gonna wanna get that statement light fixture piece, like that will be going in my 2-story living room. You'd be surprised, you can find some pretty good deals. That will cost about $250. Like in my case, because I need to rent like scaffolding and all of that, I would need to add that in. If you just had something that you could do on a ladder, then it's really just the cost of the light fixture. In my case, renting the scaffolding and all of that could run me upwards of $500 because of the high ceilings in my house. I'm gonna hire that out for sure. And plus those statement light pieces are big and very, very heavy. And I don't want to deal with that. So I think I will be having my brother-in-law install those. And if you do, it will be anywhere from $500 to $2,000. Yikes. Maybe my brother-in-law will work me a deal, you think? Okay, my next tip is more specific to tiled kitchens, maybe even the backsplash, but particularly the flooring where there is heavy use. One thing to really make your kitchen look better and more expensive is to clean those dirty grout lines. Now, I've shared a couple of hacks on my channel on how to do this. My favorite, unfortunately, is kind of controversial, but it really does work good, is using the gel Lysol bleached toilet cleaner. You put it on the grout line, let it sit for a second, take some kind of scrubby brush, scrub it in, rinse it off, then do a really thorough mopping because you don't want to leave that sitting on there for a long period of time. And a lot of you recommended sealing the grout again. I think that's a fantastic idea to just make sure that it stays up well. Another idea is I've used a Bissell steam cleaner to do the same thing where you just take the Bissell steam cleaner, it has a little scrubby brush attachment that you can add on to it, and scrubbing those grout lines. When you get your grout lines nice, fresh and clean, it makes it feel newer and it just looks nicer. So if you have grout lines that have darkened over time like they always do with you, maybe take it some time, clean those filthy grout lines, and it will give new life to your kitchen. Very easy DIY project. Okay, refreshing your grout lines is super DIY friendly. Totally recommend it. I've done it a couple of different ways. I've gotten some flack on some of my ways. Cleaning your grout is definitely something you can do, but if you have a lot of it and you're doing like the floor, you might want to hire that out, and that can run you anywhere from $300 to $1,000 for a professional cleaning, get that grout looking really, really good. Totally worth it because it takes years off the age of your home. You'll have to weigh whether you want to do it yourself or not. It is totally DIY friendly though. If you want to have a bedroom that looks expensive but isn't going to break the bank, you need to learn the principle of when to splurge and when to save. And this principle is very true, especially when it comes to bedding. On this bedding, there are some splurge pieces as well as some save pieces. So for example, I splurge on the sheets because for me, getting a good night's rest is so important. So making sure that they're soft and feel really good and not scratchy and not sweaty. I do spend a little bit of money on nice quality sheets. And as an added bonus, if you invest in a quality sheet, it will last you longer, at least in my experience. And then I hemmed and hawed and looked over these pillow shams right here behind me for a long time before splurging. I tried to find an alternative, but I couldn't find one that I liked as much. So I ended up splurging on some Pottery Barn pillow shams. However, everything else on my bed is super, super affordable. In fact, I bought this duvet cover that looks like linen for an affordable price of $49.99, and you would never be able to tell, because I actually had one on it before that was an actual linen duvet. It did not hold up, it got a hole in it, and so that's what I was replacing. And this looks just as nice, if not nicer. Also, my insert is a really affordable find. When it comes to bedding and making it look more expensive and nicer, fluffiness. You want it to be something that has a lot of textures. I've got lots of textures on this bed here. I've got this nice throw that is more of like a knit effect. I've got something that looks more like linen. And then I've got like the jacquard finish on these Pottery Barn duvets, and then I've got a velvety finish on my little cheetah print pillow. So lots of textures going on, but it's a very neutralized and muted palette, which I love for me. That is gonna be something, a color palette is gonna be a personal preference, but for me, I want something that feels really serene and calm and subdued, and I really love the color palette that I've got going in my bedroom. And this is a principle that I have repeated and repeated. Splurge a little bit, save a little bit. If you go cheap, 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 it's gonna look inexpensive, but if you kind of mix and match, then it gives a more high-end finished feel. You can get really beautiful bedding for your master bedroom for $150 to $500. You might want to mix and match something really high-end, like a couple of really key pieces. I have some more expensive pillow shams. So I'm thinking like $150 to $500 for that. And for professional, custom bedding, I have sold in my day $2,500 to $3,000 on bedding. Could get more expensive than that. It's beautiful, it's stunning, it's probably worth every penny, but you can get a beautiful, beautiful look curating it yourself, maybe making it yourself. I've made them myself before, so just consider that. So for my next concept, I know everybody doesn't want a TV in their bedroom, but I think they're becoming more and more commonplace. If you appreciate good design and aesthetic, then you don't really necessarily want the look of a TV in your bedroom. So on my last episode, I took on a project that I've been wanting to take on for years, and that is creating a frame for my TV. Because buying one of those art TVs is very, very expensive, but you can get a regular TV for pretty affordable these days. And why not make it look like the art TV without the price of the art TV? So that's what I set out to do. Is I took my normal TV, created a beautiful, luxurious finished frame that was actually a lot simpler than you think. I do believe that this could be a beginner project, especially if you're willing to just really pay attention to all of the smaller details. You can pull this look off, and I have to tell you, I love how this looks. It looks so good. I was looking online, I was finding people who made these, and I am not knocking them because I really appreciate good craftsmanship. And then there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that literally all they have is art. And you can just put that on your TV and you have a piece of art in your bedroom. It looks so high-end, so polished. And if you haven't put a frame around your TV, I highly recommend it. Even outside of the bedroom, this is a good tip, and it just polishes it off and makes it look less, you know, intrusive, I guess, if you will. So give that a try. Okay, so my frame TV, I did end up doing this project and it ended up being $75. I am obsessed. My TV is like a 55-inch, $75, stunning. I love it. It's one of my favorite projects I've ever done. I will link the project in the description box below. If you bought one of these, you're gonna expect to pay $500 to $750. It just depends on whether you have the tools or the skill set to do it. I love the way it looks though. It really made it look like a cold, sterile TV to like a beautiful piece of art, and I have no regrets, and I'm definitely gonna be doing it in my family room when I get to this. I put in a picture box molding treatment behind my bedroom here, and anytime you can add molding, it really does add value and make your bedroom look nicer and quality and more polished. And so I've done this in a lot of bedrooms. You can do everything from like a board and bat finish to a shiplap finish to, in my last one, I kind of did like those square grid patterns. Those can look really good, especially when you polish it off with like a little bit of like pencil molding on the inside. But this was like a less than a 1-day project that polishes off the room, makes it look so nice. And this is a totally doable beginner project. So if you're looking for a way to simply elevate, you could do it on just the one wall. After I got the one wall up, I'm really considering doing it in the rest of my bedroom to really lift and elevate the space. And again, you can make it a feature wall, you can make it all the way around, but it is always a good way to elevate your home and make it look its best. You can plan, if you DIY it, about $200 again, and if you're hiring it out professionally, it really depends on if you're doing something super expensive and bougie, really high-end materials and all of that, $1,500 to $4,000. There's a big variation depending on the type of feature wall you're doing. Okay, accessories. Accessories is such a good way to lift the feel of your bedroom. And the way I approach it is to try and get a curated look. I really try to find some things at the thrift store. Sometimes I buy things at the big box stores as well, and get some nice pottery pieces and some coffee table books, or in this case, we're not really having a coffee table, but they still look good as a design element and accessory in your bedroom. Flowers, beautiful candles. This one's kind of a fun piece over here. It's like my Greek goddess head over here. It looks really pretty, but it did not cost me a lot of money. Accessories is an area that you can really save a lot of money and get thrifty by finding things at the home goods, finding things at the thrift store. This is an area where you can really save but still get a nice polished look. That is something that may take some time collecting and switching them out until it really suits your personality. Accessorizing is totally something you should DIY, and sometimes finding those things at the thrift store, making them over and all of that. So I'm gonna estimate that if you're being thrifty and going to thrift stores and finding things on sale and clearance, that you're gonna spend anywhere from $50 to $300 in a room on accessories. If you are hiring it out and having an interior designer help you with it, you're gonna be about $1,500 on average for accessories. Again, depends on what it is. This next one, I could get myself in trouble for, I don't know. But the struggle is real, let me tell you. If you want your bedroom to look its best and look quality and look polished, it's gotta be clean and organized. And I am going to be the first to admit that my bedroom can get cluttered and messy. If you go into my closet right now, it's not quite as bad as my Monica closet for those of you who've been watching my channel, but it's kind of a little bit messy. But it is true, there is something about cleanliness and organization that just speaks. It just lifts the spirit, it lifts your mood, and I really have been making a concerted effort, especially like this year. It was like one of my New Year's resolutions to have a clean, tidy, clutter-free bedroom and house. But I've got kids stuff, so I cut myself a little bit of slack. But being able to sleep in a nice, serene space, it's hard to do if it's cluttered and messy. This is a judgment-free zone. I am not judging anybody. I'm just saying that is a true principle, and I hope that that maybe gives you a little nudge. I know I've got to nudge myself sometimes, and it will make your bedroom feel more elevated and a place that you want to spend some time. It's not my strong suit, just because I'm a creative and my mind is like, I can use that. But it is something you can totally do for free, or maybe if you want to get some organization things, you could spend like $200 a room on baskets and organization things, and they do really help. If you hire in a professional, you could easily spend $1,500. So you might need that, like I might need that. Maybe you just need the person to come help motivate you and help you like walk you through it, because it can be overwhelming. I'm like a mini hoarder. I'm not like a full-blown hoarder, but like maybe a mini hoarder. So maybe hiring in a professional might be a good idea for me. I don't know. My last idea is adding greenery to the bedroom. I really think that this is a way to kind of polish and finish things out. So you can see that I've got some beautiful branches next to my TV that's just like a little sparse and settled. Now, if you can keep the live stuff alive, go for it. I'm gonna kill it, so that's why I use the faux stuff. And I know I get a lot of judgment on that, but it's better than me having dead plants in here. Faux is better than dead plants, would we all agree? And I wish I could keep them alive, I just can't. And then I brought in this tree that I got off of TikTok Shop for like $65. It looks so good in here, and I had it out in another space, and I decided when I did my wall project that I would bring it in here, and it really did kind of finish off that corner and lift the space, and there's just something really nice about it. And then I've got my faux tulips that look really real, and it's just that I feel like you need something that breathes life into it, even if it's not really alive. If you can, again, do live stuff, then by all means do that. In the meantime, I am going to stick with my faux plants and love them. And yeah, you could DIY this and do your own curation of it and spend between $20 and $300 for greenery. I do love that. Fresh is always nice. You can go to Trader Joe's and range your own flowers here and there. To do it professionally and go with more of like a high-end plant, you could spend easily $500 in a room, maybe even up to $2,000 depending on the size of the room and how big the trees and all of that are. So that just depends. I do think that you can go find your own stuff and do it for cheap. Totally DIY that one, in my opinion. Let's get started with our idea, which is a project that we did recently, and it is very DIY friendly, and that is adding a window grid. Adding a window grid, there's just something about it that really customizes it on a window. It also works on a door. So recently I found this peel and stick product that is very convincing. It looks like molding, but this is so DIY friendly because you could simply just peel off the backing, stick it to the window or door that you're using at, cut it to the right dimensions, and it's a very simple and easy process. I have 4 big slider glass doors in this living room. The total cost was about $100 to do these doors. To hire out custom window grids by a professional would cost you about $2,800. That's what it's telling me. Best guesses. That's a lot of money. I'm sure they're beautiful, but I am completely happy and have the same level of satisfaction with our DIY version. It looks stunning. It really elevated the look of the sliding glass doors, and it really took a builder grade look, elevated it, made it look custom and expensive, all for a fraction of the price. So another recent addition that we did to this formal living room space was a custom cornice board. Now, what it was previously was a dated fabric covered cornice board. So it was padded and it had some silk fabric, which I'm sure in its time was stunning and beautiful, but it had seen its day. It was like time worn, color faded, ripped and tattered. What we did is my husband and I ripped off the fabric, ripped out all the staples, cleaned it up really well. What we needed to do to upgrade ours was add some of that masonite board. And then I just took some trim that I had in my shop, very economical, affordable trim. We did some picture box molding on it. One thing that you really want to do if you're doing a cornice board is make sure that you putty and caulk all of the seams and make sure that it is pristine, because that is the difference between it looking DIY and looking professional. And then I primed everything out and did a couple of coats of our trim paint to match all the trim that is already in here, then reinstalled it. And it was like night and day difference of the before and the after. It's amazing how that cornice board really added like an architectural interest to this space. So we did this for under $100 easy, maybe like even closer to $75. But if we were starting from scratch, we would have needed to buy some MDF board, and that is a little bit more pricey. If you on average DIY'd out and started from scratch, the average room, they are estimating that to be $250 if you DIY it. Now, if you hire a professional for the same thing, then it costs you about $2,400. So there you go. Hopefully I have shown you that you can totally DIY this. It's amazing how much adding curtains can transform your space. Because even after I added the window grids and like the cornice board, it was beautiful, but it felt a little unfinished. And that is why adding curtains really elevates a living room space. But you don't have to go way overboard on this. You can maybe even find off-the-shelf ones. I bought curtains at IKEA that have worked, where I've added a pinch pleat to it. You can add pinch pleat draping, which I showed in an episode where how easy that is to just on the top of your curtains. You can buy them already with the pinch pleating if you like. I prefer a pinch pleat. I think it looks very polished and nice. If you were going to a custom work room and having custom drapery treatment, that we are talking in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 for custom window treatments. You don't need to go that route. There are options out there that are super affordable that you can do where you don't have to involve a custom workroom. Now, by all means, if you want to go that route and you have the money, I am a big fan of that. They do a beautiful work. They do a beautiful job. So I'm just kind of trying to present all the options, and that's how you do it on a budget and still get a high-end designer look. One of the things that I still have planned for this living room, but really kind of this whole main floor, I really love picture box molding. It is timeless, it's classic, it will never go out of style. It is elevating and it's very DIY friendly. This is a totally doable project. I've done it in a couple of other areas in my house. I have it planned for many rooms in my house. I've done it in my bedroom. I've done it in the breakfast nook, and it is so easy to do. You can paint it out in your original wall color and have it be tone on tone. There's areas where I've painted it out all white, and that is beautiful. But it is as simple as doing 45-degree cuts. But again, it's caulking and puttying and sanding and taking the time to do all of those fine details that really make it look like a professional job, even though you DIY'd it. You would spend about $250 on doing the average size living room in the picture box molding. If you hire a professional to do it, you're gonna be looking at about $2,000 to hire it out for something that you can totally do. But again, in this case, and you have maybe high ceilings that you don't want to contend with or something, that might be a good time to call in the professionals. That'll be just a call that you will need to make according to your budget and your circumstances. This next one may intimidate you if you are just beginning with DIY. But I want you to know that just a few years ago, I never thought in a million years that I would be able to build a fireplace or a fireplace mantle. It sounded completely out of reach, but what I knew is I really wanted a fireplace in my living room. I wanted one my whole adult life, and I wasn't willing to spend the money to hire a professional. So I just pulled my bootstraps up and gave it a try, and I was astounded at the results. I was so excited and proud of myself. Now, recently, we bought a home that did have a fireplace, but it did not have a mantle. And I really wanted to have a beautiful high-end mantle. Now, the one that inspired me and that I really love was a cast stone fireplace. It was about $4,000 to $5,000 for the mantle that I wanted, and I knew that I would never spend that on a mantle. It is stunning, it's beautiful. I'm thrilled with the end result. I cannot believe we were able to replicate the one that I loved so much for such a fraction of the price. Now, on the mantelpiece that I just built, it ended up being $150 versus the $4,000 to $5,000 inspiration one. So it just goes to show you where there's a will, there is a way, and you can figure out how to do it for less money and still have the same impact as the high-end expensive one. So that was really rewarding. If you're willing to work really hard and be patient and learn some new skills, I do think that it is doable to DIY. Next up is the invisible luxury, and that is scent. Now, there is nothing more mood killing than walking in and having a smelly house. It's happened to all of us. And so scent is super powerful, and it's one that I've mentioned before, but I wanted to talk to you about different options. There are some candles that don't have a very pleasant smell, so I would try to avoid some of those. My favorite candle I have burning right here is very affordable. It is called Italian Linen, and it comes from Hobby Lobby, and And I believe that the candle runs normally at full retail price, $25, but I never spend full retail price. I always wait for it to go on sale. So the candle ends up being about $12, which is such a steal. It smells really high end. It smells like you are in a luxury hotel or spa. So you've got to find the scent that works for you. This is just one that I really, really love. Diffusing is a really popular choice, and I love diffusing. There are very expensive diffusers that retail for about $300. Maybe they're amazing. I haven't tried them out, so I can't really speak to that. This little diffuser right here does not look like much. It's small, but look how pretty it is. This was less than $20. I can't remember the exact price, but it was definitely under $20. Then I did my research on like the most bougie diffusing oil, because you can use essential oils, you can use whatever you want. I haven't done like a massive amount of research on this, but this is one that I did search out. This smells like the most high-end, beautiful hotels. Now this is by Aromatech. I ordered this off of Amazon. This scent is called Santal Escape by Aromatech. This is their smaller version, and a little goes a long way, let me tell you. 10 drops, your house will be pungent. It smells so good. It smells like a high-end, like musky cologne meets like a really high-end hotel. This little bottle is about $25, but if you buy it a 4-ounce bottle, like the price per ounce drops like by a quarter. So you may want to take that into consideration. So my options that I've shown you are between maybe, we'll call it 15 if we include sales tax for this candle, and maybe $50 when you include the price of the diffuser and the scent oil that I just shared with you. So $15 to $50. If you went like the more expensive route of the very nice diffusers that probably you don't have to refill as much and I'm sure they are amazing, you're gonna be looking at about $500 to go that route. Okay, now that you have your beautiful hard surface floor, I would recommend getting a nice rug, but you don't have to fork out $3,000 for a very expensive rug, unless you want to, of course. I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but I'm just saying that you do want to get a big rug. You don't want to skimp and have a small rug. Bigger is better when it comes to rugs. It's beautiful, it looks more polished, it looks amazing, and the prices are pretty affordable these days. They have the washable options that have gotten so much better, and you can spend probably anywhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $400 on a large rug, maybe like a 10 by 13, and maybe it's not the most expensive looking rug ever, but they look pretty good. When you're gonna get like a decent rug, you're gonna end up spending $200 to $400 versus you could spend up to $3,000. Oh, who knows? There's probably rugs that are like way more than $3,000, but just for kicks and giggles, we're gonna call it $3,000. But you can get a very good look for what you need in your home for in the other range. And so, yeah, I cannot tell you how much lighting impacts a room. So first of all, I love light. I love natural light. So windows are awesome. But if you can't get new windows, what's another way you can bring in light? And that is just other lighting. And it has gotten so good, because what's really neat is they have LED lighting now where you can select whether you want it to be warm light or daylight or bright white. And like you can get the look that you want all out of the same light fixture. So if you can add recessed lighting anywhere with the new, more contemporary, updated LED lights, I would highly recommend it. As far as like switching out recessed lighting for the actual light itself, it's probably like $10 to $13 to switch that out to these ones where you can pick which color of light you prefer, the daylight versus soft light, warm light, and bright light. You know, a lot of them have like 3 or 4 different options. Totally would recommend that. We haven't done it in this living room quite yet because of the high ceilings, but it is on my to-do list. That's the thing you need to consider. Is this something that you would want to hire out, or is this something that you can DIY? Now, me recommending to you, I'm going to tell you to hire a professional all the time. I'm not going to tell you to wire your own home because that doesn't seem very responsible of me. But I have personally wired several light fixtures in my own home before. I love to hire out the ceiling fans because they're a little bit more tricky because they can get off balance if you don't get them all lined up correctly. So I generally like to hire out the ceiling fans, but sometimes it's just really easy to swap out a light fixture for another light fixture and give it a more updated look. So that's something to consider. Adding extra can lighting, I think, is totally worth it. I would hire a professional there if you're adding lighting where it didn't exist before, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Definitely hire that out. When we're talking about costs, it's gonna be like your labor plus the cost of the light, and that's gonna depend. So you're looking, for the cost of a light, I would say $200 to $400 if you're comfortable doing it yourself. And then if you're hiring out a professional, you could probably expect to pay, according to our information, about $1,600, unless you have a family member who might be an electrician. Maybe they'll work you a deal. So anyways, lighting really affects. Another thing to consider is maybe putting things on dimmers, because that's kind of fun to have in the evening, maybe softer light, and maybe there's times where bright light makes sense. So the dimmers is just a simple way to give you some options. And again, there's just so many smart features these days. So we could spend a lot of time on talking about lighting, but anytime you can add additional recessed lighting or lighting in general, that would be a good investment. Next up, I'm gonna talk flooring, and flooring might be something that seems kind of overwhelming and intimidating, and I get it. It is a big decision, a big investment, and some work if you're gonna DIY it. But adding some sort of hard surface flooring to your living room or your home in general, it really does elevate the look of it. There are some beautiful carpets out there. If you love carpet, go that route. If you're going the higher end carpet route, it will probably be about the same money as putting in a hard surface flooring. But the nice thing about the hard surface flooring is that it lasts a lot longer than carpet. Some of the options that have come out that are so great these days is luxury vinyl plank flooring. Has really been elevated. It looks so nice. It is so DIY friendly. Adding tile. There are some beautiful tiles out there. If you go to places like Floor & Decor or even the big box retailers, you can find some really good tiles. The money is in the labor. And so that's where you're gonna have to really weigh whether or not you are willing to put in a little sweat equity. There is nothing more timeless and classy than hardwood floors. It's beautiful. They have come out with, like I said, the luxury vinyl plank flooring and the engineered wood flooring. These are completely doable, DIY friendly. The luxury vinyl plank, you can score and snap. You don't have to use a saw, so that makes it very enticing. They've really upped the look to make it look so realistic and convincing. If you're willing to do the work, you can definitely save some money. Now, as far as the cost perspective, it's gonna really depend on what you select. So here's how I went about it. So we have a 300 square foot living room space that we're kind of basing this all around. And if you want a pretty decent tile or luxury vinyl plank, you're gonna be looking at the neighborhood of $3 to $4 per square foot, and that is for a really nice quality flooring. So that will give you about a cost of $900 to $1,200 if you're DIYing it yourself based on a 300 square foot space. If you're hiring it out, I would plan on spending about $10 a square foot. That includes materials and labor. So you're gonna be looking at the ballpark of around $3,000 to put in that hard surface flooring. Maybe that is worth it to you. Totally your call. I can totally understand and empathize. When it comes to refinishing, that's a whole different ball game, and I'm not gonna really include that in our price tracker. So this next idea is totally DIY friendly. So I would definitely steer you in this direction, and that is swapping out your throw pillows. Make sure that they look fresh, and sometimes they get tired. Tired pillows can bring down the look of the room, and very nice, fluffy, good pillows can bring up the look of a room. But you don't need to spend a fortune. In my design days, you could easily spend $150 to $200 per pillow for a designer pillow from a showroom. There are times when I have splurged on a pillow piece. I've got some pillow shams on my bedroom that I got from Pottery Barn, and I love them, and they really tied the look of my room together, and I saved a lot of money on a lot of the other items. So I think that it is okay to splurge here and there, but I think you don't need to splurge on all of them. And there are so many options. Like if you go into Home Goods or Target, there are beautiful pillows right off the shelf that you can get. You can find stuff on Etsy that's either really affordable or really expensive, depending on what you're looking for. This is where you really need to let your personality shine. Buy things that bring you joy. Swapping out an entire room of pillows, you could do as little as $150 for an entire room of lots of pillows. Up to $1,500 is what it's giving me for the average living room for more of a high-end showroom pillow. So, and I'm sure, again, it could probably even go higher. But you could even make your pillows. DIYing your own pillow covers is easy to do. Then you just need to find the fabric that you like. I've made a ton of pillow covers and pillows in my life. You let your personality shine. This is your opportunity to bring the color scheme and your personality into this space with whatever sings to your soul. Well, I hope you found value in this episode. If you enjoyed it, here is 50 more ways to make your home look more expensive. You can watch that next. And to all of my DIY goddesses, you are more powerful than you know. We'll see you next time. Bye.